think it's been a good conference. I've been very pleased with how things have been going. For those that don't know me, I'm Ed Rayburn. I'm the Extension Forage Agronomist here at WVU. Over the last, roughly, 3 or 4 years, we've been having a project that we call the Low-Cost Cow-Calf Project. And in a real short version, what we've done with each of our farmers that have been willing to cooperate with us on this project is do a whole farm inventory. By that I mean we would go out across the farm, take soil samples, look at their soil fertility program, take information on the cows, frame score, body condition, calving season, things like that, and then just work with them on the things that we know in terms of trying to improve the overall management of the farm. So we have 5 of our farmers here. Before we do that, I'd like to just also acknowledge the county agents. I couldn't do my work without county agents and without good farmers. And so I have to express my appreciation to my county agents that work with me, and to the farmers that they bring on board, and the farmers that allow us to do the work that we do here at the state. So what we're going to do is we have the 5 farmers here: Ben Hayes, Mark Matheny, Bret Singleton, John Bob Spiker, and Creed Ward. I'm going to ask each of them to take about 5 minutes to just express, tell you what was the thing that they got most out of this project for their farm. And then hopefully we're going to have 15, 20 minutes or so for you all to ask questions that they can field about those. So we're going to start off with Ben Hayes. I said we're going to do it alphabetically, but I'm going to do it just based on the list here in the program. So Ben, would you take a minute? Take your 5 minutes and tell us what did you benefit from this project?
As Ed said, my name is Ben Hayes. I'm a producer from Rome County, also an ag teacher at Rome County High School. Can you hear me? Okay. And my wife and I, which came with me today, we have currently about a 50-head beef cattle operation in Rome County. And about 4 years ago, when this project started, our local extension agent came to me and said, "Would you be willing to do this?" And she didn't know a whole lot of information about it, and I didn't either at the time. And I said, "Sure." And then later on, we found out a lot more about it. But probably the most important thing that has assisted me in decision making in the last 4 years is, as a beef cattle producer, probably one of the main things we all do in summer is make hay, and then we feed it in the fall. And of course, I always thought, well, my hay is not as good as it should be. It's not as good as my neighbor's, so I was buying those expensive protein tubs. I really learned that I didn't need to spend that money, and I think that's what this program was mainly about. The low cost end of it is how we can, save money on our programs. And Brandy Grafham, the local extension agent in Rome County, she came out and we forage tested my hay, and Ed then came down and we went over all the samples, and I realized shortly that I had been spending probably $1,000 to $1,500 a year that was just going into cow and then right back out and not doing a lot of good. So that was probably the most important financial thing that I got from the program. And of course, there was, we soil sampled, got some pH up on my ground, got a little nitrogen on it. Frost seeded some lagoons, which helped out on the pasture end, which they also took pasture samples on the summer. And but I'm not going to say everything because I still got 4 guys behind me that probably hope I don't take all the topics. But basically, the number one thing is that I took away from the program is now the program is over. I don't know if Ed still don't pay for my forage samples or not. I hope he does. Put that in there. But every year from now on, I am going to go ahead and take my forage sample. So that allows me during the winter months when I'm feeding my hay out, I know what the best quality is to the worst, and I can plan out, you know, during calving time, you know, peak when they should be getting more nutrients and when they don't need as much. So I encourage each and every one of you, if you have access, and you should have, get a hold of your local extension agent. And if they don't have a hay board to sample it with, they can probably get one through money through WVU. But I encourage you to do that. It takes a little time, might take a little effort trying to figure it out, but your extension agent should be able to help you with that as well. So that's the main thing that I took home from this program. And since I got the hay samples back the first time, I've not bought any more protein cups. My local feed dealer, which was selling Crystal Licks at the time, he still hits me up on buying some every year, and I just keep telling him no. So my wife appreciates that as well, I'm sure. So thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ben. Mark Matheny is our next farmer.
My name's Mark Matheny. I'm a Morgantown boy. Actually, grew up on a farm just outside of town here, 5 or 6 miles away. Hoped to go to vet school and got to organic chemistry and a couple other chemistries and found out I wasn't going to make it to vet school. So I started taking all my electives in business and ended up with a degree in accounting as well as an animal science degree. So this time of year, I'd like a show of hands of everybody that's got their income taxes completed. That's pretty good for this early in March. But what this program brought to me is a greater awareness of the Schedule F in that income tax package that we all fill out. And after I got out of school, I was like a lot of kids. I went out, I got a job. Went back to my parents' farm, grew the farm, kept doing things pretty much the way my dad had done them, accumulated more scraps of ground here and there, leased up everything I could find, made every scrap of hay I could make. And when I got to April 15th and I looked at that Schedule F, I was always lucky if my income exceeded the expenses. And I continued to do that. I'm pretty hard-headed for about 30 years. 5 or 6 years ago, I started looking at it and I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I sold half my cows and I got into Dr. Rayburn's low-cost cow-calf production program. And I started spending more time, rather than just going to things that you do, bale hay, sell your calves in the fall, I started trying to think about and manage some of my inputs and costs so that there would be some income at the end of the year. My biggest, one of the things that I knew but didn't fail to use was probably body condition scoring. When I got up to the number of cows that I had, my cows were always on the thin side, a little like me, so I never worried too much about it. But at the same time, they were not, I was calling a lot of open cows because I had cows open that weren't getting the proper nutrition, and buying trailer loads of corn to supplement my hay, and I just wasn't going to do that anymore. So we made several changes in our program based on our body condition score. We moved our calving from January and February to March 15th through the 1st of May, trying to match our nutrient requirements more to the feed that we were able to produce on our farm. Also went into extended and rotational grazing, extended rotational grazing into the fall and winter months to reduce the amount of stored feed that we needed to get those cows through. We wean early. We're participating in the calf pools. Wean the 1st of September. Gives your cows some chance to build back some body condition in the fall. My dad always told me that fat cows have wind. Well, it took that a long time to sink in, but it's very true. If you can bring your cows into the winter in a 5 or 6 or 7 body condition, you don't have near the expense feeding them, and hopefully there's going to be more for you on April 15th. That's about all I have.
Thank you, Mark. Bret Singleton will be our next speaker.
Just a little history of where we started. In 1987, I got my first heifer, 4-H heifer from a neighbor. She was a January calf. I got her in August. She weighed 325 pounds. So I've learned a lot of lessons, to say the least. Whenever we started this low-cost cow-calf program, one of the first things we did was weigh all of our cows. We were, and aside from the Hereford bull, we were a seed stock herd. Everything was registered. We were AI and everything, going to the test stations. Mostly it's Southern test. We tried the Gordonsville test one year, and it wasn't working for us. There's a lot of time and effort goes into those bulls, and it wasn't coming full circle back. When we weighed our cows, we did a weight and a frame score on all the cows. We had an average age of 4 years old, so it was a real young set of cows. The average weight was 1,340 pounds. An average frame score was 6. It was just a big, rangy, young set of cows that were still growing. In my notes here, I said weighing cull cows does not prove anything. That old cow has lost a couple hundred pounds or one thing or another. If she weighed 1,500 pounds stock sale, you probably got some 1,700 pound cows back at home. Really, so we set about trying to reduce that weight. Our percentage of calves, when we weighed that first year, when we weighed the calves, on the adjusted 205-day weight, we only averaged 43% of a calf weaned per pound of cow. We weren't getting there. We changed a lot of things. We went, a lot of folks thought we were crazy. We went to Nolecrest and bought a little Hereford bull, 5.2 frame, and we're taking the leg out from under it. Putting some ribs in them. The only bad thing about all this, it's going to take so long to moderate that frame. You can't just do it in one generation. But that was a big step. And our AI sires are a lot more moderate. We don't do the big spread bulls. We absolutely don't go over 100 pounds yearling weight EPD. We're going to get to those 1,100, 1,200 pound cows one way or another. In our calving season, we start calving March 1st. Whatever doesn't calve by May 1st is gone. I don't care if it's my son's show heifer or whatever. She's gone. We've got a really good show heifer in the freezer right now. And he jokes about it all the time. He's learning pretty quick. But with my brother, one of my brothers and I do most of the labor on this. We both work off the farm. So that calving period, it minimizes our labor. Our cows have to do it on their own. They calve in a 20-acre field. They get looked at about 6 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the evening. Aside from that, they've got to take care of it. If they don't, they got credit right. Whenever we're weaning, it's one vaccination day. Everything gets done. We wean. It just minimizes the labor period. And last fall, with that close calving season and everything like that, was probably one of the prettiest sets of calves we'd ever had. I mean, it just looked like a piece, 3 piece. Have to be there. We really liked it. We keep all of our heifers. I think it's been 1 year, last 5 years, we sold any heifers. We keep every heifer born. And with our calling, we have no trouble finding them a place to stay. We figure those heifers are out of cows that have stayed there for a little while. Their mothers are doing something right. watched the cow families out of 40 cows probably. There's, I think we're down to about 7 or 8 cow families. They sort themselves out real quick. Your heaviest, flashiest, prettiest heifer at weaning, 9 times out of 10 won't be there in 2 years. They just don't work. The little heifer that wasn't the biggest at weaning, but she come through, her mothers had done something right. She didn't draw any attention to herself. She's still there. And then getting on down into forage testing. I don't know if there's any equipment dealers in here. Everybody's always trying to tell us we need to wrap hay. And I know they're down there trying to sell the wrappers and all this good stuff. If you can store hay dry, I would never wrap a bale of hay. When we did the first forage test on the hay, we had always supplemented 2-year-olds with that first calf. It's what you always did, what your grandpa did, it's what you was told you had to do. Like Ben said, after we did that forage test, a free choice round bale, dry, sitting there in a room, was all that the 2-year-old needed. She couldn't do it on that. She got the credit right. Our replacement heifers, like that little 325-pound heifer that I started out with, I grained her from the day I got her till after she was 2 years old with the first calf. She would never have paid me back for half that. That's what we did. Our free choice dry hay on those replacement heifers, they're weighing 500 pounds in the fall. They can gain their pound and a half through the winter and still breed and do right. And it makes for some really cheap heifers. In the pasture, when we forage tested that, we had enough minerals in the grass. We went to feeding a trace mineral salt. The minerals were there in the grass. We didn't need the $20 bag mineral waste from Southern States that we had been told we needed. Forage test debunked all of that. Then a big one this past fall when we did the forage test, we had always bush hog pasture in the summer and then saved that back to put those calves in there when we were preconditioning. We marketed through the pools, through the nickel fed pool, had for several years. When we took that forage sample, we had all the protein in that grass that we needed for those preconditioning calves. Instead of buying the $480 a ton jump start and feeding it at 5 pounds a day that we were told we needed to do. With that forage test, we supplemented 4 pounds of ear corn, ground ear corn per day. And even at that, we were balancing the energy out in the ration. They had the protein, we were balancing the energy out, and we were training them to come to a bump. But that corn only cost us 332 pounds a day. $332 a ton versus the jump start. And we fed less of it. And we weighed those calves when we weaned them. We weighed them again when we shipped them. And we got 2.1 pounds a day on those calves. Probably did that as cheap as what we could ever do. And kind of like what Ben said, even if the ed doesn't pay for the forage test, whatever, it's pretty cheap. I would have no problems again paying for those out of my own pocket. There was a lot of those forage tests were one of the biggest things, really.
some of the stuff was pleasantly surprised, and then some of the stuff that we found out, you know, wasn't going too good. I got a little late in the calving season. I sure like calving April and May, and when you do that, you're gonna have some fun with June. That didn't work for us, you know. I attribute that a lot to our climate, the high humidity and everything. We kind of backed things up when we started looking at the data more precisely. Calves weren't really weighing enough to justify selling when we were in the fall, and I wasn't all for holding over wintering them any longer along with replacement heifers. But I'd say through that we backed up probably a month of calving season just because of that, looking at that data a couple extra times, saying, you know, those calves are selling great by the pound, but are they really justifying the more than they weigh selling and calving that late? So we backed up a little bit, and lately hadn't been too great, been pretty cold nights, but I think in the fall we'll notice a difference. What we did last fall seemed to, that extra 30 days seemed to help. Board samples, that was real beneficial. Some of the pastures that you just look at with naked eye, you wouldn't think tested as well as they did, and some of the meadows that I thought would test the hay off the meadows would test exceptional, didn't test quite as good as some of the other meadows. Produced less tonnage. They were higher quality sometimes, so it was neat to look at that and then analyze those pastures and unroll everything, go back and pastures we could get on, I think some of that hay that didn't, that tested good, and on a pasture didn't test as well, kind of match the data with help and unroll it to distribute the minerals and everything back where it needed to be on the pasture, to help the pasture, improve the pasture. I enjoyed taking samples with Bruce. You can go out and ride the wheelers, take samples, look for shed anchor while you're going, and everything you want to do. Kind of interesting to do that and get on the ground. And, there's a lot of things that benefited, but I'd say the biggest benefit was just a reason to look at everything again, everything right in front of us. Me and my wife were trying to focus on low maintenance cows, lowering our costs, grazing as far as we can. Last year, as y'all know, was an exceptional spring. We got into the second week of February grazing, and we had less cattle than we did this winter, and it was a little colder this winter. We got to the 1st of January this winter, but we had a few more cattle, and the temperature's been a little colder. We've seen a huge benefit from rotational grazing. There's challenges to that. We've had to really pay attention to our water sources, and you know, just because you can put 80 cows on a watering trough, that doesn't mean they're getting all they need. You got a small watering trough. You got to pay attention to that. I'm sure Hendershot will touch on later today how they're kind of clan animals. They like to stay in bunches, and you don't provide enough water when they go to the watering trough. And the last one to get in there and drink, everybody else might have gone to the shade. They might not get all the water they need, and that's pretty crucial to them. Kind of split some stuff up. Through people I met during this program, and kind of emphasized that, you know, it's a good idea to keep the heifers separated. I hadn't always done that. Through rotational grazing, it was easy to put everything together and give that pasture more rest because everything was together and you didn't have to split them up in different bunches. But those heifers probably, in my opinion, it helps to keep them separated so they're not letting them with no loss, keep your old cow, pushing off forage or whatever. They'll do that in the pasture, what I've seen, just like they do with hay. But I don't know how long I can keep track. Like I said, the biggest thing that I got from this was just simply looking at everything in front of us more than just once. Usually in the fall here, we're in a hurry, you know, build a page and move on, but it's sure nice to be able to tweak it and have a reason, some madness behind it to do it right. Thanks again.
Thank you, John. Creed Ward will be our last farm speaker here.
I don't know how I got to be lucky enough to be the one that got to step up here and tell you the 5th story behind the 4 other people and tell you the same one, try to keep your interest. But, you know, you keep hearing the same thing over and over. But probably the biggest thing that I got out of this program, well, a little bit to start off with. I've got a farm in Barber County. We got about, with our whole family and everything, we're having about 650 cows. And we had some yearlings and stuff too. But the most thing that I got out of this program was the soil samples and hay samples, things that we probably should be doing anyway. I mean, you've heard these guys all say, I'm going to go back and get my hay samples. I'll go back and get those. And, you know, you don't do those things. It's like your income tax day, you wait till the last minute to do it. But whenever you've got, I mean, Roger was our extension agent at the time of county. Whenever he called, he said, me and Ed's going to be there on Wednesday and we're going to do soil samples. Well, I got my soil samples done. We soil sampled everything. We didn't include, on our farm, we didn't include everything that, all the cows or all the farms that we run. We basically picked out what we had right at the home farm and kind of managed that section. There's about 200 cows in that. And then we just used those to look at the other stuff. Now, we went ahead and we did go after we started and go get some soil samples. And heck, I mean, we've been getting some soil samples on some of the other, but we'd hardly ever got any forage samples before. But, you know, if you go in there and you get those forage samples, then when you start in there, I mean, you've got an idea when you bale your hay, and it doesn't vary a whole lot, but it is different than what you think it would be. But whenever you know, if you bale something way late, you know the quality's not there. But sometimes when you think you've got quality, it's not all there that you think it is either. So you can feed, when you're feeding your dry cows, you can feed that hay first, and then once those cows go and calve, then you go get your better hay, and you know you're feeding the good hay when you should be, and the poor quality hay whenever they don't need it, when they're still, you know, supplementing on some grass. I mean, you know, we graze up, you know, like everybody, we try to graze clear up into, I mean, I've got places on some old strips and stuff where there's some fescue. If it stays open, I can graze clear up in January, clear to February. If, you know, if the weather allows me to do that. I mean, I've had people tell me all the time, you don't need to worry about it anyway. They'll wait through snow and get it. But I have a hard time whenever I drive up through the hill, look at them, and they all come to look at you. I mean, I have a hard time turning around and driving off, saying, oh, I'm sorry, go stick your nose in the snow. But so it's a lot of it for me on this program was basically doing things that I probably knew I should be doing or thought I should be doing that I wasn't doing that I got done. Some other things that we did look at, didn't have a real problem with it, you know, and when I knew, I mean, you know, whenever you had that 1,500 pound cow out there, you suspected she probably wasn't paying her way, but, you know, we sat down and we weighed all the cows, and then you go back and you saw what the cows were doing as opposed to what the weight of them was, and it just put a figure to them, you know, that said, you know, she's probably not paying her way. I mean, you found out that some of your 1,100 pound cows is raising 700 pound calves too, not just the 1,400 pound cows. So, and we haven't, you know, just because I had a 1,400 pound cow there that I knew, you know, that she was bigger than what I wanted her to be, I haven't just loaded all those up and took it. I've tried to breed my way, you know, breed my way out. I don't keep those kind of heifers and stuff, which I really never did. Sometimes I do, you know, she's too big to put on the load of heifers, so you dump it the other way. And I've kind of quit maybe doing that as much as what I used to. But the other thing, besides the cow weight and the calf thing that we got out of this, I mean, Ed and Roger came down and we walked through the meadows after we had the soil samples, and we walked through the meadows and they looked, you know, at what the clover content was in there and said, you know, you got enough clover here, you don't need to put any nitrogen. You know, you can put a little bit of phosphorus here, a little bit of potash here, and that's what you need to do to keep your fertility where you need it. You really don't need to spend that money on the nitrogen. And then we had some other things. It seemed like on one side of our farm, we needed to add phosphorus, and on the other place, the phosphorus was okay, and we needed to add potash. So just having those soil samples and walking through and looking, we were able to adjust what we were doing, which, like I said, you know, we should have had soil samples, and we should have known that from the start. It just, like Darnbob said, you sat down and looked at it because That's what, that's what the program was set up for. And another thing, I used to, look, we have a lot of rented pasture, things like that, and I always put my fertilizer that I was putting at the house on ground that I owned. I said, I'm not going to haul it off somewhere. Well, Ed says, if you're putting phosphorus on the neighbor farm down the road, if you're hauling the hay home and feeding it home, you're bringing 90% of it with you. So you can afford to put some phosphorus on those other farms and get a better quality forage and turn around and you're going to haul most of it back home and feed it where you want to anyway. But basically, the best things that I've got from the program is just to sit down and analyze those things and doing things that you probably think that you should do anyway, and then you find out that, yeah, there is benefit in looking at what, your programs and what you need to do.
Thank you, Pete. At this point, I'd like to turn it over, for questions. Phil, would you come down here? I didn't acknowledge Phil. Phil and I are a team. I'm in West Virginia partly because of Phil. I believe strongly that forage management should be based on what is your animal market. You should develop a forage system for that. So Phil being our marketing person, that's why we work together a lot. Anyway, Phil was an integral part of this project as well as all the agents. At this time, if you'd ask your questions, I'd like the farmers, the fellows here to address it from their perspective. If there's something that they want either me or Phil to address, we'll be here as their backup. So,
I'd like a response from each of them. What age do the calves or heifers first time? And what is your average age of cows that you cull?
Okay, the question is to all the producers, what is the age of their heifers when they give their first milk, and what is the age that they like to cull cows?
We cow our heifers the first time as 2-year-olds. We breed them artificially, usually synchronize them, breed them artificially to a Cavionese bull one time, and then turn the bull out with them for 45 days. They are 2 years old, and we've gotten along pretty well with that system.
We also have ours at 2 years old. Some of the heifers are AI'd, some aren't, and they're cleaned up with a bull. As 2-year-olds, we don't mess with them as far as synchronizing AI and whatever. We let the bull take care of it, because if they don't come back in that right period, they're gone. So we give them every chance they can to rebreed without us tinkering with them. As far as calling, we can start out with 10 heifers, a group of heifers as 2-year-olds. In 4 years, if you've got 6 of them left, you're doing good. If you're calling for what if you've got your criteria set for calling and you stick to it, if you yield 60%, you're doing good. That still doesn't give you an age, but we keep them as long as they stay.
We do the same. I've got a friend right now, Kevin, out some heifers that he kept over, and they look great, and they're doing good for him. But I haven't really got to the point where I can
same week have our heifers out at 2 years of age. Try to have them, you know, calving season starts about February. Try to have our heifers calf right there. We don't, we do a little AI with the heifers, first time, second time, get them bred back. I try not to mess with them, try to get them bred back in the winter. Age of cow when they get called. I was sitting here thinking, after you asked that question, the oldest cow that I have, I believe, 16 years of age, and she, year in, year out, has the heaviest calf of not only just my farm, but my father's farm, my brother's farm, which is kind of cool. But I am sure that she's 16, and last year she weaned off 720 pounds. The year before it was 760, and she is the ugliest cow that I have. I feel might remember she's the one that's got that hump in her back. I mean, she's kind of not very pretty, but she has made me a pile of money in like 15 years. They get called at home because, number one, their calf is not up to par, or number two, they don't have a calf. And that's the main reason they get called, they don't have a calf. And then we go from there. Specific age, I haven't. I just making sure it's still functional. We use them until that time is coming.
Yeah, well, I'm just like these guys. We calve at 24 months. I don't see any way you can feasibly keep them an extra year. We don't. I mean, we're calving 100 heifers this winter, and we really don't give those heifers. I mean, I keep them closer to the house, but don't seem really like, you know, if you have to give one in for a foot back or head back or coming backwards, you know, that's no different than a cow. But usually we don't see that much more problem with the heifer than we do with the cows when you get right down to it. I keep the cow as long as she's productive. We preg check everything in the fall. We've been on a 60-day calving season for 40 years. We preg everything in the fall. If it's open, it doesn't make any difference what it is. It goes. I'm not going to feed her through the winter if she doesn't have a calf in her. Anything that loses a calf, I don't buy a calf and graft a calf on anything. If I have a set of twins or if I have a calf there that I can graft on the cow, I will. If not, if she loses the calf at our house, 98% of the time she'll go to town. I will keep, if the heifers lose a calf, strictly because, you know, of what you've got in them, I will keep a heifer that loses a calf and rebreed her. As far as the cow go, very seldom. A few years ago when we had a really bad winter and we lost several calves, and I had an extra field and I throwed some cows out that had lost some calves, you know, that was 3 or 4 years old. Don't do that as a general rule, but once in a while I will do that. But it seems to me like if you turn those dry cows out, they just get so big and fat that by the time she comes back next year, and also whenever I've had that happen, it seems like if that cow loses a calf, it seems like before her productive life is over, it happens again. So we're pretty well, I mean, we're pretty strict on what we do, but I mean, I've got cows from 2 to 16, 18 years old, as long as they, and we very seldom call cow, and I do once in a while, call cow for not being productive, you know, for not raising a good enough calf. But if you stay on a 60-day calving season all the time and you pull the bulls and those cows are open, more often than not, when she gets 12, 14 years old, you know, you'll see them back up a little bit, maybe start calving toward the end of the calving cycle, and then she'll just miss. She just can't catch herself back up. And we'll lose most of our cows just because they get old. And you know, whenever we're pregnant on a 60-day calving season, I mean, we got rid of 30 or 40 call cows last year, and there's probably, I'm saying 6 cows in there that we hate to see go. You know, a cow was on the young side that you know, didn't either lost a calf and bred, and then, you know, early mortality or something. But for the most part, we call on production if they got a calf.
Next question. Do we have any more questions? We have another 15 minutes, roughly.
Do all you breeders preg check the cows? Oh.
And the question is, do we all preg check the cows in the fall?
We've been, we regularly check our real-life breed. If a cow's open in the fall, she goes down the road, and we're actually drawing blood out of their tail head and sending that away. That gives you back a number where you can kind of estimate when that cow's going to calve. But we like that system real well because we can do it ourselves. It's a very simple process, and it seems to be very effective. Out of 60, 80 cows, you might get one that they say is pregnant that shows up in the spring with no calf, but that's worked very well for us.
Cost associated with that?
It's $2.60, I think, for the lab work. You got 10, 15 cents in your blood tube, the needle, and your time.
We don't preg check ours in the fall, we probably should. The way some of the prices are going, I know last year we took 2 or 3 cows that were springing, the 6th of May, but we were past our May 1st cutoff. We took in stock sale, and people paid some ungodly amounts of money for those cows. I wouldn't give you 2 cents for them, they were our fault. But yeah, we should be something we need to look at. Just with both of us working and everything else going on in the fall, we don't get it done.
And if you can find a good vet to break check, I do it every fall.
That's an unfair advantage for you.
Yeah, we break check, we have a breeding season, 60-day window we try to calve in. I've been break checking myself, usually, I wait till about after weaning time, mid-October, and break check, and then most of the time, if you can find a calf, that's a problem, especially if you've been trained to AI and whatnot. And if I find one that I can't find calf in, I'll wait a week, get it back up, try it again. About 9 times out of 10 she's bred. Sometimes still can't find calf in, and I take it instead. But yeah, you definitely, the price that it costs to make hay, it's worthwhile for a check. Probably the blood work is probably the best way out to get it. Creed always told you to do it, but young can.
Yeah. Yeah, I taught myself preg check a long time ago. We preg check everything all the time. It might depend on how cheap your feed source is, but if you look at what cow cows is worth in March versus what they're in November, we all say we can't keep them all winter, but we probably can't because we have to buy feed. But if you have a really cheap feed source, you might buy opens in the fall and keep them till spring and make money.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about your pregnancy results on your heifers, because you push your heifers with absolutely no supplement, and the ones that you keep, give them your results on your heifers last 3 years.
Phil was wanting to know about replacement heifers and getting them bred. Is the way I took the question. We keep our heifers, and our heifers are wintered, and they're wintered on haylage. And we don't supplement anything. The only feed we ever buy at our place is some feed so we can call them in. And we do use some feed whenever we're weaning calves for the fall. And if you've got good enough pasture, the way you said a while ago, you can get by pretty good. But I mean, I've still been saved with the feed. But we'll run those heifers through just straight on haylage, and then we're breeding one time, turn them out on some real good grass through the summer. And we AI breed one time and then turn bull out for 42 days after that. And last year our pregnancies were, for some reason we haven't exactly figured it out, our AI conception wasn't very good last year. And we had out of 25 open heifers. We had about 20 open heifers last year, which is more than what we usually have. We usually run probably 10%. But I would still rather have I'd rather have an open feeder heifer at 900 pounds than to keep roving next year and not have to breed back and have a heiferette to sell at cow price. Now
What is your pregnancy rates on those two for their second calf? Because you've got.
For our second calves coming back, I can tell you just on mine for the past 3 years, the first 2 years of the 3, I never had an open 2-year-old. Every one of them, or open 3-year-old. Every one of those bred back. This year I had 4 heifers that didn't breed back. And that bull did hurt his foot, partially in the field. I treated him one time this summer for foot rot. May have had an issue in it, but I don't know that that's the case. We started calving, the cows there at the house, we started calving about the 10th of February. We had 200 cows there, and I'm down to less than 50 now left out of those. After the first 21 days, we'll end up with 75% of our calves usually in the first 21 days. On the cows, and usually on the heifers. Like I said, we didn't do very good on AI this year. We're usually closer to 50 or 60% on the heifers, and for some reason, I don't know what it was this year, but we were closer to 40.
You use AI on the cows or just not?
No, the only thing that we're doing any AI on is on those first time heifers. I try to buy some pretty good bulls, and really the reason that I AI'd the heifers, I was kind of developing a program to sell some heifers, and if you AI the heifers, it's a cost, but you can generate a lot more interest to buy an AI bred heifer than you get a bull bred heifer. I was trying to get replacements out of the ones that I kept, to come back. But as far as AI any cows or anything at the house, we haven't had to do it because I don't have that much. I have a hard time getting cows in to get them vaccinated in the spring. I don't want to have to get them in 3 or 4 times with calves on them. They just don't like coming in with baby calves on them, so we don't do it. Question?
The gentleman there on the end. You said you're extending your grazing on out January. How much has that cut back on the amount of hay that you put up in the summertime?
Okay, the question was, extending the grazing season, how much does that save on hay?
Well, it's hard. We've always done that. I've always tried to say we don't overgraze anything. Even if we have a drought year at the house and grass gets short, we almost always have grass because we don't overgraze to start with, because we would rather graze longer. So it's always been our philosophy, to not keep anything chewed down. Your erosion's not near as bad. If you have some grass cover on there. So that's always been our deal. Now, the particular piece that where I can turn those cows, there's a strip up behind our house. It really doesn't have any. It's several thousand acres of an old strip job that's got an old fescue that they seeded back on that really doesn't have any fence on it. But if I go up there, in December, January, it's got a lot of woods and stuff around it, and they have to go a long way before they get anywhere. But if they do come in and you keep some hay there, you can keep them fairly close in that area. So really, it's taking advantage of a place that doesn't have any fence, where we're pretty well free ranging in December and January. And then there was an old strip job there. There was a shop building there. It's about 20 by 140. They wasn't doing anything with the concrete floor in it. They wasn't doing anything. The guy told me I could put hay in it. So, I've got inside hay storage for dry hay, and I put the cows up there. And really this year, the way we had the weather right there, the first part of February, where we had all the rain and everything, that place got even though there's a lot of ground up there, it got pretty muddy, and it's never straightened out. And we've been able to keep the ground at the house where I can keep moving the cows to really dry our ground all the time. But to tell you how long we've extended it or done it, it's hard to put a figure to it, because it's one of those things where I know we're doing it. I know the cows aren't eating any hay, but I don't have a number.
Or is all of them get mine vaccinated once a year, or they have to do it twice? Everybody vaccinated in the spring?
We're vaccinating cows in the spring, and then the calves we're vaccinating in the spring and the fall. The cows right now, we're doing one time with the modified live is what we do. I use modified live in the spring. Whenever I get in and vaccinate the calves first time in May, the first part of May into April, I'm using modified live on the cows and vaccinate the calves, and then the calves get it 2 more times in the fall when we need. I don't know.
That's the same with us. We're vaccinating cows in spring, and that's the same with us. We're doing the cows in spring, and the calves get spring and fall as well for the calf pool. I think we do get the cows with a stay bred after weaning, just to make sure everything's good for that too. We're all about the same.
Yeah, everybody that's in the capital, there's a protocol set up for their vaccination programs, and everybody that's selling through the pool pretty much would follow that protocol.
And we've been on the modified live now for 15 years or more. Spring, until this past year, we did a spring and fall. This past year, it didn't get done. We didn't even deworm the cows this past fall. You just kind of sit back and look at them, look at your body condition before. The cows were in pretty good shape. There wasn't any baby calves out there for them to reinvest. So I saved a few bucks and let them go. And they're looking fine now. No wool, deworm and everything. I remember Dee Griffin a few years ago said, everything you do to the cow, you're doing for the calf. Don't worry about the calf, you're doing it for the calf. So we'll vaccinate and deworm this spring.
Bill, you have a question?
Yeah, John Bob, when you were up there doing your gig a little while ago, you were talking about water issues, and I'm curious if you could expand on that a little bit in terms of what your observation is in terms of need and recharge capacity. And it sounded like maybe you had addressed some things that we all need to think about as we do the recharge of the system.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to, and I wasn't able to make the bigger troughs where they needed to get more water. They were sucking down pretty quick. And I think I was shortening those cows, I split the cows up. Didn't have the money to put in a new water system, but that's the biggest issue I've run into, other than just the lay of the ground on rotating these pastures, is where your water sits and how to split it from there. One thing I did was make it to where, instead of cutting the trough in half in the field, where when they're this side, they drink half the trough, and then you rotate the next side, they drink half off. I made a barrack around the trough where they could all get in there and drink the whole trough. And sometimes this summer, when I was really bunching them up, it just still wasn't enough. They shoot for the shade before they was all done drinking, and some of the shy cows, I don't think they'd get enough. I think it was showing in some of the milk production. But I don't know if that's hitting what you're asking, but that's kind of, it's really need to think about that, because when you get into, if you're looking at, which I would advise anybody to get into rotating more, how many cows you're putting on a water source where, you might, when you're grazing the whole field, you might have 2 or 3 places they can drink. You don't think about it. When you start bunching them up, they all need access to a good bit of water, and it kind of changes things.
So if I could follow up with a couple of questions, how many gallons do you perceive that they need per cow calf pig?
I'd like to know that. I don't know. I would like to know that.
Maybe it's a question for Ed in on the field. And then if she's 200 pounds bigger, and the calf is at 600 pounds versus 200 pounds, how many more gallons do you need?
Yeah, it add up in a hurry, especially when it's 90 degrees and humid.
You want me to take that question?
Yeah, I think it's back up.
Okay, the question is figuring water requirements for a cow. a good rule of thumb, and this will get you in the ballpark, 1,000-pound cow, or any cow would eat around 2.5% of her body weight. Okay, that's dry matter. In cool weather, that cow needs 4 pounds of water for every pound of dry matter that it eats. So that's one way to figure out what is that requirement. Now, part of that water can come out of the grass, okay? But when you're feeding dry feed, of course, it's got to all come from a water source. Now, the other point was hot weather. That water requirement goes from 4 pounds per pound of dry matter to 8 to 12 pounds of water per pound of dry matter in hot weather. Now, up to those high rates of water requirement, the cow can't get it from the forage. She's got to have an external water source. So those are some rules of thumb that do get you into a good, right in the ballpark for what is the water requirement of that cow in cool weather and warm weather.
All right, wait a minute, I'm not done yet. Now, having said that, do either of you all have any empirical data on how long a cow will wait to drink when she has a need and the water is available but access because of, say, water holes is limiting her turn?
Okay, the question is, how long will a cow wait for water?
Yep.
That's why we recommend the smaller paddocks, because if you have a small paddock, the cow thinks she's still in the herd. No, whereas if you have just one big field where all the cows can go to a shade area way away from the water, now the cow has been separated from the herd. And the rule of thumb there is if I have a water source within 400 feet, the cow is not feeling that she's separated from the herd. And then, it's not a big issue. I didn't answer your question in terms of how long we should wait, because I don't know that answer. But I do know the other answer.
I didn't understand you said 8 to 12 pounds of water
Per pound of dry matter intake. Did that answer that?
Yes, sir.
If I've got 40 cows in this one big field, one water supply, do I need room for quarter of the cows to drink at a time, half the cows to drink at a time, 5% of the cows to drink at a time?
Okay, how big a field were you talking about again?
One big field,
Okay.
200 acres.
Well, see, that's why we're recommending that you not do that. Yeah, one option is, this has been done in West Virginia. If you have that big field, if you have multiple watering points, again, somewhere in that 400 to 800 feet apart. The reason I just jumped to 800 feet apart, if I went to 800 feet, the middle point is still 400 feet to a water source. But again, remember, if you don't do the cross fencing, you've just lost the benefit of rotational grazing, which includes manure distribution. Remember, a cow is putting out, and this is what we get into, over $1 a day worth of fertilizer is what that cow puts out. So if you want, and that adds up real quick. You're talking $300 a year plus. And so that's one benefit of that rotational grazing, is getting good manure distribution, so you don't have to go down to the store and buy fertilizer. The other thing is going from one big paddock to up to 7, somewhere between 8 and 12 paddocks for that large area. You can basically double your carrying capacity. So you actually get more feed from it. So there are many benefits from the rotational grazing if you're willing to look at that. Now, I would like to give another round of applause to the farmers here.
I'd like to say something to that real quick. That's just, I don't know how you ever put figures in that. I think everybody's situation is going to be different. How big a pipe you got going in your trough, how clean the water is, how quick gravity moves or your spring produces. I think everybody's got to kind of monitor what they got. A lot of it. Anybody in this room can handle
good point, thank you. So, like to thank him again, appreciate it, and waiting, lunch is ready for you.